Hi everyone, Matiram here with another battle report. Tonight I am bringing my Saurian Ancients versus Skip's Dread Elves in another 4,000 point battle report under the version 1.2 rules. Just a little note, you can see the terrain looks a little, I guess sparse might be the best word. I don't know that we're still on board with the way Ninth Age does terrain generation. We actually may go back to something a little more like the way 8th did it, just to kind of make something more interesting, because none of the battles we've done so far have kind of tripped our trigger. But that aside, let's go ahead and get into deployment and talk a little bit about the army lists. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with Skip's Dread Elves on the left of the board. He has a group of 5 Dark Raiders that he has scouted. Or no, sorry, the Dark Raiders are the Horsemen. Sorry, this is the first time I've looked at his list and the Dread Elves in general, so I'm going to be confused. So we've got the Dark Raiders, which are the Horsemen. His other unit that scouted up there are Raven Cloaks. Yep. So they're off to the side. There really wasn't any good terrain for them to hide in close to me, so he put them just a little bit ahead of his lines. And then he's got a unit of 10 Dread Knights with full command, and they have the banner of speed on them. Then he has a big old unit of spearmen, the Dread Legionnaires. He's got a grand total of 36 of them with full command. He also has both of his characters in there, a Lord of Dread captain, BSB, who has the Hardened Shield and a Talisman of Shielding, and the Banner of Blood, which I'm just looking at this list now, and I don't think he actually remembered he had the Banner of Blood at all the game, so we'll figure that out. And he also has his Oracle, who is a Wizard Master, 4 spells from the Path of Cosmology, and is equipped with the Book of Arcane Power and the Talisman of Supreme Shielding. Behind them in the field there is one of his Dark Reapers. Then he's got a unit of Harpies, just 5 of them. Next to that is a unit of the Blades of Nob, and they actually have full command. Behind that is his second Dread Reaper, and then he has a unit of Dark Acolytes, and there is 10 of them with no upgrades. Okay, and then for my list, starting on the left, and again, if I mispronounce these dinosaurs, please forgive me, a Stygiosaur with the Champion upgrade and the spells of the Stygiosaur Rider, which is Awaken the Beast and Swarm of Insects. Then I've got a 20-man bunker of Temple Guard with full command and the Banner of Speed. In with them is my Quaddlelord, who is a Wizard Master, 4 spells from the Path of Evocation. And he is my General and Battle Standard Bearer, but other than that, he is totally naked because he's too freaking expensive. Next to that is a unit of Saurian Warriors. There are 32 of them with full command, spears, and they are Serpent Warriors, so they fight in an additional extra rank. In the right top corner of that unit is a Firstborn Warlord. He has an Ogre Sword and the Armor of Destiny. And there might be a better picture. Yep, here's the better picture. Then I have a Skink Captain who I really enjoyed. He is armed with the Axe of Battle, Hardened Shield, and a Potion of Swiftness. Behind him is the Tyro Scutus with the Sun Engine on it. Next to that is a bunker of 16 Skink Braves with full command. They have the Gleaming icon on them. And with them is a Skink Priest, who's a Wizard Apprentice with 2 learned spells out of the Path of Druidism and the Talisman of Shielding. In the top edge of the forest there, you can see I have two snake swarms, which, again, didn't really have any good place to scout, so I put them just a little bit ahead of my lines to hopefully get in the way of some of that stuff he's got on the right flank. So because I dropped pretty much my whole army when I went, I got first turn. Movement on the left is pretty simple. I want the Stygiosaur and my bunker unit to go ahead and claim that wall and get ready for his fast-moving stuff to come in on that side. Then on this side, I kind of shuffle up a little bit. I'm not really interested in giving him easy charges, and I kind of want to see what his plans are. I also send my Skink Chief off to the right there to act as chaff. He has very lightly armored troops over there, and I think he'll be very surprised if I can get into them and unleash like 6 poison attacks with just the craziness that he's got on him. So I'm kind of hoping for that surprise, because we do play pretty much closed lists, so it is a little bit surprising when something like that happens. And then up here, you can also see that I moved up the snakes. I'm really not thinking with as spread out as his army is, I'm going to get much use out of their giving poison to everybody, so they're just going to be a cheap chaff unit this time. I had no magic to speak of, and no shooting outside of 12 inches, so we go straight to the Dread Elves' turn. He brings up his dancer, or his blades, to the wall, and brings up his acolytes to put hard pressure on it. I think he's thinking that he's going to pick up some easy points with these stragglers, which is frankly not an unwise decision there. Then over here, he brings up his chaff pretty heavy. I think maybe he's tempting me with some easy points, but I recognize that if I go for either of those easy points, I'm going to open up my flanks to either his legionnaires or the knights, and I'm not really keen to do either of those. But he's Skip has had some difficulty learning how to use chaff, and the fact that he's being proactive with it, I see as a very good sign. And over here, he sends his Raven Cloaks to go deal with my Stygiosaur. So we go into Magic, and the Dread Elves start off strong. He ends up getting the spell from the Acolytes off on my Snakes. 2d6 Strength 3 Flaming Divine attacks, ends up getting 5 wounds through and killing one of the 2 bases of Snakes. And then over here in the center, I can't stop him from getting the 5-up ward save off on his main Spearman unit. Then he goes into shooting. He's obviously using those Dread Spears to try and take out my center dinosaur. Ends up shooting both of them. Misses with one and hits, but only inflicts a single wound with the other. And then over here, the Raven Cloaks throw a bunch of pillows at my my Stygiosaur and gets nothing through. So we go into Saurian Ancients turn 2. What I do here is I actually declare the charge against the Horsemen Raiders with my Temple Guard. He chooses to flee and runs to where you see them there. The Temple Guard fails their charge and essentially just comes out from behind the wall. No big worry there. And then on the other side, I guess he didn't think I was willing to go into combat with the Skinks, because I went ahead and just threw them right into the flank of the Harpies. That lets me hopefully deal with that threat and not compromise my big Saurus block in the middle. So I'm pretty happy there. Then I was able to go ahead and move up the Stygiosaur to get within 6 inches of his knights. The Stygiosaur's got that breath weapon that's going to let me do 2d6 toxic attacks, which essentially will just chew through their armor like butter. So I'm actually hoping I can do enough to this unit and maybe get lucky and panic them. Worst case scenario, I'm hoping I should be able to take at least that back rank off of them, and I would consider that a pretty big success. Then over here, I just go ahead and set up a double chaff setup here. My aim is thinking that he's going to want to go for the points, that he's going to charge my snakes. He'll probably kill them, see the little character there is too delicious, and overrun into him. And my skink chief is going to have a big old surprise for him when that happens. I'm also moving up my Sun Engine Dino for some spell casting on those blades back there. So pretty simple on this side. I'm hoping that I can kind of deal with what's in the middle before he starts bringing stuff into my flanks and rears. But I guess we'll see. So then I go into spell casting. I decide I want to go ahead and make his characters a little weaker, so they are just barely within range of Hasten the Hour. So I go ahead and cast that. I inflict 2 wounds on them. I forget that it actually kills his champion too, so that didn't happen. But I did it by miscasting. But it wasn't by much. I miscast 8, which ends up blowing up 4 of my Temple Guard as well. Don't really think that was worth it, but that is the way of magic right now in 1.2, so I guess I can't really complain about it. Though I just wish I didn't have to spend 600 points to get a Salon. Then over here, in shooting, I breath weapon. I only managed to kill 3 of the knights, which is bad, because those knights are going to get a charge on me next turn, and I'm pretty sure that the Stygiosaur is not going to be able to hold up against a still pretty significant unit of knights. And over here, my skink chief starts showing who's boss by hurling a javelin into the acolyte unit, and he kills one of them. Skip had it was like a 6-up armor, 4-up ward, and still failed both of them, and he died. Then we go into combat, and oh my god, skinks in combat suck. I don't manage to kill. He gets 2 attacks on me first, doesn't manage to hit anything. And then I get my attacks back into him with poison attacks, with a champion in the unit. I'm doing what was it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, basically 7 attacks, and didn't hit, or I hit with 1, and then I didn't wound with it. It was just terrible. So I won the combat, but it was only by static res. He did break, but did not go far, and I chose to restrain rather than run my skinks out to be an easy charge for his spearmen. The plus side is, with where the Harpies ended, he really can't charge straight into my Saurus next turn, which I guess I'm happy with. So we go on Dread Elves turn 2. He does get a charge in with the acolytes into the snake pile. He also tried a long charge with the blades into my Sun Engine Dino and failed that, but he ended up coming out into not a horrible place. He did end up succeeding his charge against the Stygiosaur with his knights, though we cannot actually put them base to base because of the way that the Stygiosaur is modeled. I don't want to break that spit coming off of him. But we're just measuring everything as if they were in base to base with the front arc of the front side of the Stygiosaur. And then his fleeing horseman rally and the Harpies rally. So I really didn't accomplish much of anything other than pushing him back a little bit last turn. And his spearmen move up just a hair. I think they move up an inch. It's not very much. And over here, the Ravencloaks turn and start coming towards the back of the Stygiosaur. If the knights don't kill the Stygiosaur, I'm really not looking forward to having another unit sneak up his backside. So I'm really kind of worried about this, particularly that once that Stygiosaur is dead, there's the potentiality for all those to be able to come and deal with my bunker unit, which is just a ridiculous amount of points if he can take it out. So magic phase, that +1 from the book is making all the difference. I can't stop him. So he ends up hitting a -1 strength on my Saurus warriors and replaces the +5 ward save on his spearmen. He ends up doing some shooting with the Reapers again, ends up doing a little bit better, so he's done 3 wounds to my big dino in the middle. And then we go to combat. Obviously, his acolytes stomp a mud hole in the snakes, and then they move forward and slam into my skink chief. Over here, his knights do a number on the Stygiosaur, but they do not kill him. So I get to strike. I use the Primal Roar because I figure it's probably going to be dead soon, so I'm doing Hatred. And I open up on him. By the end of it, he's got 3 guys left, and it was pretty good. Now, thinking back on it, what I may wanted to have done here is I actually do have a champion, because I paid for the champion upgrade on the back of the thing. I may wanted to have just declared a challenge, and then I would have won by a boatload, because I mean, his one dude wasn't going to hurt me that much, and I could have just done horrible, horrible things to him. But I didn't at the time. I was thinking maybe killing more bodies would be better. So, if you disagree with that point, make your case in the comments. So then we go into Saurian Ancients turn 3, and here's where things start going well. I figure that the Temple Guard is going to have no problem destroying those harpies, and I'm actually a little surprised that he stuck. He decided to stay there. If he hadn't stayed there with the way I was positioned, I was going to redirect into his knights, but I was going to have to go into the front of them. With the way I hit and close the door now, once I destroy the harpies and I overrun, I'm going to hit the flank of the knights instead, which actually may give me the opportunity, if we can destroy them and I get a reform, to get out of the front arc of the spearmen. So I'm really hoping that that's the way that works out. Over here, I just kind of do some reforming. I am ready for his spearmen to come get into things. I'm not sure if he does want to come mix it up with this Saurus, because I mean, under 8th edition rules, I've hurt them bad enough with this unit that they respect it. I also think he recognizes that it's the unit with the frog in it is way more points, so I think he's holding them back to get those points. So I got these 2 units here just to reposition for some counterattacks if that's what he does decide to do. I also move up my Sun engine closer to his blades, figuring that he's going to have to get them into combat sometime, and I've only got 1 wound left on it, so it's really not going to be much more than a speed bump at this point. I finally get a spell off. I haven't been able to successfully cast magic all game because he's been stopping me, and I get lethal strikes on the Stygiosaur. Now, this is a gamble because his knights are going to go faster than me, but I figure if they don't kill him in the first strike, lethal strikes can't hurt. And then I go shooting. My skinks here are just barely within 12 inches, so I hurl some javelins at him and manage to kill 1 of his spearmen out of the unit with that. Then we go into close combat. Obviously, the Temple Guard just put a hurting on those harpies. I overrun and do manage to successfully connect into the flank of his knights. His knights then destroy the Stygiosaur before it gets to go, so the one spell I've gotten off has been pointless. The rest of the unit, or the rest of the Temple Guard murder the remaining knights, and then I reform. Now, I do manage to get the reform set up so that I am out of the front arc of the Spearmen. The downside of that is in doing so, I presented my rear to the Raiders and my flank to the Ravencloaks. All I'm hoping is that those two units can't come in and do enough damage to kill me. The big worry is I don't have a back rank of Temple Guard behind the frog. So I'm essentially opening up my Quadlord to 5 Raiders in the back. It's a huge gamble, but it's way better that than them getting jacked by that gigantic unit of spearmen with characters in it. So we'll see how it works. Over here, my skink chief opens up on these acolytes. I kill 3 of the acolytes. I win combat, but he doesn't break. So we go to Dread Elves, turn 3. He ends up restraining with the blades. He's not taking the bait for my dinosaur. Wants to shoot it off the board so that he can get into like my skink unit and stuff that actually matters. And over here, Skip makes a big mistake. He does do the 2 charges that I thought, but he gets greedy. He wants to go for the big points and turns his spearmen to look at my Slans unit. Now, this is for me for the Saurus. I need an 8 or a 9 on the dice. I don't remember which. It was a pretty relatively long charge, but at this point, if I can get this big Brachiosaurus into the flank of those spearmen, I'm going to delete that unit. And he's got a lot of points in it. This was probably the single biggest mistake he made all game. And his magic works, so he's relying on the ward save to save him, and gets it up. And then we go into combat. He fails to shoot my dino again. And we go into combat, and my chief breaks I get 1 wound on him, he gets none on me. He's still steadfast because he's got a rank, but he rolls like garbage, fails his break check, and runs off. I tried to catch him. He rolled 12 inches to run. I rolled 2 inches to chase. So I end up here, which is actually really good because now I'm out of the front arc of the blades, and I can see them for the charge. So I've got a flank charge set up on my turn. And over here, things go badly. He does manage to get 1 wound off on the frog because I'm rolling ward saves like a beast, but he only manages to kill 1 Temple Guard. I actually win the combat because I'm not disrupted or anything, and both units break. I decide to pursue the Ravencloaks. I run them down and roll far enough where I actually am pretty safe from his spearmen coming to get me. His 1 remaining raider is headed for the hills, off towards that top corner of the board. So then we go into Saurian Ancients turn 4, and I succeed my charge with my chief into the side of his blades. I didn't realize they get 3 attacks each, but it's only strength 3, and I'm sitting on a 3-up armor save with this guy, I think. So I'm not really all that concerned. And even if I am, it's a 160 point guy. I think he's actually worth, yeah, like that unit is almost 400 points. So even if it just ties him up for a turn, I still think that's a good use of points. And over here, I get the charge. Those Saurus are absolutely going to tear up those Legionnaires. Because, I mean, I've got a character in it. They're fighting in 4 ranks because of the spears and the serpent totem. It's going to be a mess. And over here, I just reform to watch the action. I don't end up getting any spells off again, I don't think. Uh, and oh yeah, I don't get any spells from him because we're not in Magic yet. Over here, I just kind of reform things. I'm ready with the skinks now to deal with those blades in the event they do kill the chief. And then just to make the likelihood of them killing the chief even harder, I end up using the druid spell to give him +2 toughness. And then because I'm dumb and didn't do this first, I went ahead and threw up the Oaken Throne for next turn, in case it's necessary. Over here, the blades cannot touch my my skink chief, and he opens up. He kills 4 of them, but they do not break. They should have lost frenzy, but I don't remember. And over here, my firstborn gets into a challenge with his champion, murders his champion with a wound to spare, and then I kill, I think, a full rank of his spearman. He succeeds in killing a single Saurus warrior, and that was it. I win by a landslide. I think he needs a 2 or a 3 to pass. He fails. We run them down, kill everything and all of his characters, and the Dread Elves surrender. So we have a victory for the Saurian Ancients by surrender in the top of turn 4. Um, I wow. I really wasn't expecting this. With this list I've got, I don't feel like I have enough units. I don't really have any good chaff, other than that character who was just that skink priest is a beast, or skink chief is just a beast. Um, and he was a good chap, and then a couple of the snake swarms, but I was really expecting to get outmaneuvered here, and I think my opponent played it way too safe. He spread his army out too much. He didn't take advantage of the fact that he was faster than me in a lot of respects, and it ended up costing him, I think. Um, I feel okay with Magic. It didn't really have a big effect. Even even the spells that I was trying to get and didn't get, if I had gotten them, was probably no big whoop. I miscast once to get a couple of wounds on his characters, which ultimately ended up not mattering. Um, though actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because it should have killed his champion and we didn't, that could have been a bigger deal because he would have had to either keep his characters in. And either way, it doesn't matter. The unit got stomped by a giant brick of freaking lizards. I still think the big brick of Saurus is pretty awesome. It's also the only way I can do core now, because they've taken skink skirmishers out of core, and because the models I have were designed to be skirmishers and were not designed to rank up. Of the 40 skinks that I own, I'm only able to physically put 18 of them in a block. The rest just will not fit together. So um, this is, at least in terms of core, probably very much what my Saurian Ancients list is going to look like, unless something changes in 1.3. So I'm kind of annoyed there about the sort of the limitations of that, but hopefully they'll give us something else in core. In terms of the Saurus, they're awesome. I don't see why people think that the only good totem for them is the movement totem, because that extra fight and extra rank is awesome. And a lot of the stuff in this is expensive, particularly the frog. I mean, he's 600 points naked to be my BSB in general. And yeah, I mean, if that unit goes down, it's like 1,600 points, but I play it carefully enough where I don't think I risk it overly much, except for that one time. But it turned out well. All in all, it was a fun game. I like Saurian Ancients in 1.2, though I will say they're where they were in 8th edition. They were one of my favorite armies. I don't think they're in that top spot anymore. But hopefully some of the magic changes will come. Maybe they'll make miscasts a little less deadly, and things will get better. But Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you saw anything that we screwed up or have any tactical advice for myself or my opponent, feel free to leave it in the comments. Be more than happy to get into a conversation about it. And certainly any help that anyone wants to provide will be more than welcome. So, again, hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll catch you on the next one.